If there's one thing I've learned about peace and quiet, it's that it usually ends the moment a Karen shows up. The tranquility you've been dreaming of can vanish in an instant when faced with someone who believes rules exist solely for their enforcement. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was just moving into the cabin I'd worked my whole life to afford. This was supposed to be my sanctuary, my reward after years of dedication and perseverance. $500,000, years of 16-hour days coding video games, endless debugging sessions, skipped vacations, and finally, my dream had materialized. A peaceful lakefront retreat with nothing but sunrise reflections dancing across the water and melodious birdsong to wake me up each morning instead of blaring alarm clocks. Or so I thought. Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Because just as my moving truck pulled into the gravel driveway, tires crunching satisfyingly beneath them, I heard the unmistakable sound of entitlement on heels, that distinctive click-clack that signals trouble long before you see its source. Enter Victoria Cross, neighborhood watchdog and self-appointed guardian of propriety. White blouse starched to military perfection. Clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Eyes scanning my property like a predatory hawk that spotted fresh carcass in an open field. Her lips pursed in disapproval before she'd even spoken a word. I hadn't even unloaded my third box of belongings before she marched across the street with purpose and effectively declared war on my newfound peace. Your truck is disrupting the tranquility of the neighborhood. The size and noise level are completely unacceptable for our peaceful community standards. Her words, not mine, delivered with the conviction of someone announcing a state emergency. I blinked, momentarily stunned into silence, looked around at the serene landscape surrounding us. The only other sound in a 3-mile radius was a solitary duck honking lazily from somewhere on the lake. My truck, parked squarely on my own driveway, exactly where any reasonable person would expect it to be during a move. Sorry, is this about noise? The engine has been off since I arrived 20 minutes ago, I replied, genuinely confused by the accusation. No, she sniffed with obvious disdain, already pulling out her phone and dialing 911 as if witnessing an active crime scene. It's about community standards. We have very specific guidelines about vehicle positioning and aesthetics in this neighborhood. The cops actually showed up. Yes, they questioned me, the legitimate homeowner, for the apparent crime of moving into my own property. They looked almost embarrassed to be there, but procedure required them to follow up on every call. Little did she know, the only thing more persistent than an HOA Karen with a rulebook is a software developer with Wi-Fi, technical skills, and a freshly ignited grudge. Her first mistake was assuming I would simply roll over and comply. After that outrageous welcoming stunt, I couldn't just let it go. Something felt off about the whole situation. I started digging into the local regulations and documentation. Not literal digging, though the vengeful thought certainly crossed my mind, but methodical legal digging through county records and property documents. And what I uncovered during my investigation sent my jaw crashing to the floor with a thud of disbelief. The HOA she ran, with iron-fisted authority, not properly registered with the state or county. In fact, it existed primarily in documentation she had created herself. The substantial fees she religiously collected from intimidated neighbors, completely unaccounted for in any official capacity. Over $120,000 missing from what should have been transparent accounting records. Her position as president of this neighborhood organization, not democratically voted upon, not legitimately appointed by any governing body, simply self-declared and maintained through systematic intimidation. She'd been masterfully running a phantom HOA for 15 years, methodically shaking down neighbors with fake citations, manufactured regulations, and thinly veiled threats of legal action that would never materialize in a real courtroom. And remarkably, no one in the community had ever mustered the courage to challenge her elaborate facade of authority. Until now. Until she picked the wrong new neighbor to intimidate. The next time I encountered Victoria was at the Lakefront Community Board meeting, a gathering she had confidently ruled over for years. where I calmly presented everything I had meticulously uncovered about her operation. Comprehensive property deeds dating back decades. Detailed financial records showing discrepancies. Forwarded emails she thought she had permanently deleted from servers. Every document carefully organized and highlighted for maximum impact. The genuine homeowners, my new neighbors, stared at me with expressions ranging from shock to dawning comprehension, as if I were David casually holding Goliath's severed head while explaining exactly how I'd managed to defeat their longtime tormentor. Then, with perfect dramatic timing, I dropped the final devastating piece of evidence. I contacted the county assessor's office directly. The lakefront access everyone's been paying maintenance fees for, it's technically private land, according to the original survey. Belongs exclusively to my property parcel. Not to Victoria. Not to any HOA. It's been part of my property all along. Collective gasps filled the community center. Someone dropped a coffee mug. Absolute silence descended as everyone processed this revelation. And then beautiful chaos erupted as 15 years of pent-up frustration found its voice all at once. By the following week, the situation had resolved with remarkable efficiency. Her fabricated HOA license and all associated documentation were officially revoked and declared fraudulent by county authorities after a surprisingly brief investigation. Every single neighbor received a substantial refund from the emergency fund we discovered hidden in an account under her sister's name. I installed new, professionally crafted fences and clearly visible signs at the lakefront entrance that I now legitimately controlled. Private property, fraudulent HOA access permanently revoked by legal owner. No unauthorized trespassing. No clipboards. No querens. Violators will be prosecuted. Victoria, in a desperate last stand, she tried to call the local police again, this time dramatically claiming I was stealing an entire lake from the community. The responding officers didn't even allow her to finish her rehearsed speech. One actually chuckled audibly and said, "Ma'am, according to county records, this man legally owns the shoreline. There's nothing more to discuss here." She turned redder than a spectacular sunset reflected behind eviction papers, stammering incoherently before retreating to her house. Rumor has it she's quietly listing her property for sale. These days, I sip premium coffee in absolute peace. Glorious sunrise by the crystal clear water. Friendly ducks paddle by for morning visits, occasionally receiving breadcrumbs from my deck. And every now and then, a grateful neighbor walks past my cabin and offers an appreciative nod or stops by with homemade baked goods as a token of their sincere gratitude. Turns out, they'd all been intimidated and financially drained by her for years, trapped in a web of manufactured authority. I just happened to be the first person with the right combination of resources, skills, and determination that she couldn't successfully intimidate into submission. The moral of this surprising suburban saga? If you're going to attempt to fake your way to power and control over others, don't make the critical mistake of picking a fight with the guy holding both the actual property deed and the technical expertise to uncover your elaborately constructed house of cards.